Hello, welcome everyone. We are here live tonight. We're thrilled to have everyone. And tonight's guest was kind of a last minute, but I'm so excited because we met with her in May and she has 6 books that are going to be just awesome. And we're going to kind of focus in on one. But we better start talking to Miss Cathy. We're going to jump into this. I'm April Tribe Juke. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast. I believe we are all made with light, and light is hope. This podcast brings authors who write stories of hope to all of you. Your journey to be inspired and amplified by these stories starts now. And we're back. Welcome, everyone. We're thrilled to be here. And Miss Cathy Studer is back. She's such an awesome and willing guest to return again. And we're going to talk about her amazing books. So, Cathy, why don't you share a little bit about the background of where these books, how they all kind of started, and then we're going to jump into one of them tonight. Well, maybe a few more.
Absolutely. Well, gosh, thank you so much, April. It's always an honor to be with you. And this is fantastic. So, these 6 book series, it's called The Adventures of Gus and Pasha, came from my first book, Broken to Beautifully Whole, which shares my healing journey after long-term childhood trauma. And I was very fortunate to be at a speaking engagement in Northern Ohio. I live in Ohio. And one of the members in the audience who had read my book said, Cathy, I think one of the most powerful parts of your book are the attributes that you applied in your healing journey that shifted your mental and emotional health in a positive way. And I say that because typically the number one consequence after trauma is anxiety, depression, and PTSD. And again, in my book, I shared the attributes that I used in my healing journey that worked my brain in an incredibly positive way, helping me pull my broken pieces back together. Fast forward, this client, after she said that, or this person in the audience, she said, Cathy, with the mental health crisis with our youth, why would you not take these 6 attributes and turn them into children's books? And honestly, I hadn't even sort of thought of that. And I sat on it for a year and I kept seeing the real statistics of where mental health was going with our kids and the struggle with depression, the struggle with anxiety, and even more sadly, the real statistics with suicide. And it was frightening. And within that, I then went to talk to a pediatric psychologist and had a great conversation. And I shared my background of my first book and these attributes. And I wanted to see, first of all, is there anything out there like this? Does it exist? Am I recreating the wheel? And he said, there's pieces and parts, but nothing like what you want to do, Cathy. And he said, you have to do this. So that's how The Adventures of Gus and Pasha came to be. It is a 6-book series. And the cool part is each book has a fun, cool, captivating story. Yes, April is showing them right there. I'm so excited she has them. But within the story, there is a challenge, a real life challenge that kids are going to go through because that's real life. And with their friends, they work through their challenge. But it's not just a cool story. At the back of every book, there is a section for adults. And this is a very interactive section. And it talks about, just real quick, I'll show in this one, it's got a summary of key points. And then it's got conversation starters. And then it has activities. And then wait, there's more. There is another QR code that takes you to even more activities. But it also dives deeper into the science. Why does this skill set, this attribute, why does this matter? to mental and emotional health in our children for people that want to know. So that's how the Adventures of Gus and Pasha came to be. So not only are they fun and captivating for kids, but they teach skill sets that truly work our children's brains for a positive. The brain is always malleable, always, but it's the most malleable when we're young. And imagine a world, which is the whole point of this series, which is why I did this, which is why I'm passionate about it. But imagine a world where the majority of our children were taught skill sets at a young age that equip them to not only navigate life's inevitable challenges, but even hopefully thrive through those challenges, because all kids are going to have hurts and hardships. That's real life. And sadly, some of our kids are going to even go through trauma. And if we can at least equip them with some of these skill sets and attributes, that will help them work through in a much easier way.
Wonderfully said. And tonight, we're going to look at this Trudy the Tiger, right here. Trudy let go of her anger. I've never seen a kid mad, so this is new to me. Okay.
Right.
JK. So, and I wanted to kind of put these little guys out there. So my kiddos, they love stuffed animals. And so when Cathy says, oh, they come with a stuffed animal, you can order with that, I was like, okay, I'm going big or going home. All right. So I got all the little animals. I've only have 2 rescued from the big Lego tower out there. I was only allowed to borrow 2.
I love it.
I at least got Trudy. We had to put Gus in Trudy's place. We're fine. It's all awesome. Anyway, so Trudy the Tiger, I guess, has maybe an anger challenge happening. You want to lead us through a little bit about good old Trudy here?
Absolutely. Trudy is very angry. And in the story, you learn why she's angry, because she was playing with some of her friends. And all of a sudden, her friends stopped playing with her. They got together and started whispering. She had no idea what they were saying. And they took her ball and they left. And yes, it was her ball that they were playing with. And because of that, she becomes very, very angry. She carries that anger. And she then, unfortunately, starts to take it out on one of her very good, dear friends, Pasha the panda, who April is showing there. And the point of this in the story, again, these are real life stories. So think of how many times your kids or kids you know have been hurt by their friends at a young age, whether they stole a toy or they quit playing with them or they talked about them or they shoved them or something happened that made them angry. And so Pasha the panda and Gus the gorilla are the 2 main characters throughout the entire series, but they help Trudy walk through her anger and try to help her let it go. And one of the first things they do in the book, very first thing, and this is so important that we help our kids through this when our kids are mad, if we're starting to lean into talking about forgiveness. Why are you mad? What made you angry? Because kids can't work through their anger or let go of their anger if they can't articulate or verbalize why they are mad. So one of the first steps is helping kids understand, because a lot of kids go through hard things in life. And as we know, as I had mentioned, some kids go through trauma. And I'm going to give an example of a child that I know in a classroom. This was an amazing young man, but very sadly, he was going through some abuse in his own home. And in the classroom, he had a moment where he got mad about something and he just shoved over a bunch of desk. And typically we assume that's a bad kid. We assume that, wow, he's got an anger problem. He's got a lot of issues. And then we get mad at the kid rather than the teacher that I know working with this student cleared the rest of the kids out of the classroom with her assistants and sat down. And the first thing she said to him is, let's talk about why you're so mad. So again, imagine a world where, first of all, we talk to our own kids, help them be able to verbalize why they're mad, talk about why they're mad, because that's the first step in letting it go. And then second, imagine our approach with kids around us. If you see a kid, how many times do you see a kid acting angry and we just assume it's a bad kid? Sometimes kids express anger when they're hurting and they don't know how to express it any other way. So how we approach makes a big difference. And then her friends throughout the book also talk about, okay, once they know why she's angry, now let's start having honest and open conversations. That's the next step with our own kids. Okay, let's talk about this. Talk about, okay, that made you mad. Why did that make you mad? And how can you talk to me more about your feelings? And then I also list this in the back of the resource guide. The next truly valuable tip is when adults can then share with the child of an incident where they were angry at someone else or a friend or a coworker or a family member or a relative. And when we can share those feelings back and forth, kids become more comfortable sharing their own feelings and more comfortable sharing them with the adults that they trust. It builds that extra trust. And then the next thing I would say that Pasha and Gus do that's so important to do with our own kids, they validate. They validated how Trudy felt. They could only imagine how bad that hurt her and that they walked away with her toy. It wasn't their toy, it was her toy. And she didn't understand why her friends left her in the forest. And she was hurt, as she would be. So again, if we do the same thing with our kids, and I talk about this in the back of the book, validating their feelings is such a healthy way to let go of anger and work towards forgiveness. And I want to add one more thing that is so critical. And I have this in all caps in the back of the book. Yes, the book is about forgiveness. And the most valuable part of forgiveness is letting go of the anger. Because how it hurts us when we keep all that anger built up inside of us, it hurts us because it steals our joy, it steals our happiness, and it hurts our relationships with other people. However, forgiveness can never, ever be forced. Sometimes things in life are so hurtful that forgiveness takes a long time. And so no matter what, we can talk to our kids about why they're angry. We can talk to our kids about validating their feelings. We can talk to our kids and have those open, honest conversations of when I was mad, maybe when I forgave somebody, or was there a time when I needed to forgive myself? But we cannot force forgiveness for our children. Some things take time, and some things, even if we do forgive, it doesn't mean they're condoned, or it doesn't mean we have to continue the friendship through forgiveness.
It's really important on that forgiveness side of things. And so in our home, we try to practice when the little things happen, right? And I will say this. It's not always forced. So, you know what I mean? Like when we've got the small problems, the practice. So when something happens, they took my toy or whatever.
Yep.
Or the accidental, they shoved me. Brothers, sisters. Okay. So I look at each other and I'm like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? And they talk a little bit and I'm like, okay, who's going to say sorry? What we need to practice saying that. And I'm usually looking at the one that caused first to say, what could help here is if you made a choice to do that, we need to practice this because this is the little stuff. What
Yeah,
happens when the big stuff happens? If you're
absolutely.
not knowing how to get to this point or forgive, or if all night they ate the last ice cream, let's think about that because I might leave you in the forest too. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yes.
So
No.
the practicing of it in, the comfort of a home,
Absolutely.
parents out there, please parent, because it makes my job as a teacher so much better. Okay, there's my plug. But the practice of forgiveness, that's important. And I completely understand what you're saying about the forced, especially on the big things. I mean,
Yes.
and on little things too, but you know what I'm saying? The big things that you say sorry, you just do that. I think the point in something like that is to practice. And when it's the full heart, when they're really, saying that. And it's true. When you're angry and you don't want to just let it go, you want that validation, you want revenge, you want
Human nature.
to be heard, right?
Absolutely.
And so with Trudy here, I mean, I'm not going to mess with a tiger. I think it's really cute that she's the one that was like, hey, what's going on here? So let's get out of the book for a minute. I have some of my high school, looks like some high school peeps here are jumping on. And they've said one comment here I was going to look at, was scrolling through really fast. It was like the conversation about talking with a parent or talking with an adult. Okay, I'm going to try and get to this.
Excellent.
La 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 la. I know I saw it. It was down here or up here. There's so many. It's hard for me to find everything. Um, but I think it was Abby, and she said that, oh, here it is. See? Talking to an adult definitely can help. Or a counselor, right? And why is that, Cathy? Why would talking with an adult help? I mean, they didn't change anything. They didn't uh, get back the ball or whatever. Why can an adult help? If you want to address that.
Couple of ways. The first way me personally would say is just saying it out loud, saying what you're angry about out loud is a release. It's a small step to letting it go. It's saying it to someone you trust, an adult she trusts. I love that she shared that, because that's valuable. Saying something like that to an adult we trust is the first step in releasing it. And the more you talk about it and you feel heard, as you said, and you feel validated, it's easier to let it go, even if it's an adult that can't help you through that situation, but they can at least talk with you to release the feelings and maybe take step towards, okay, what can I do about this situation? Then the more you talk about it with the adult, maybe they can help you through the situation. Is it a friendship you want to keep? Is it, or maybe it isn't? How can I get out of what's my best way of stepping away from this friendship, this relationship, or this person? And it's just another helpful way to work through your feelings.
Right. And in working through those feelings, Gabe says we need to control like our anger. And I understand what he means by that, like those responses. And in some of that control, right? the first and best thing is to take that breath, because it puts a pause on a minute. It didn't fix everything, but it paused. And then we can think and respond as opposed to react. And right there, you probably have saved yourself a whole bunch of trouble. Because even though Trudy here on the ball and friends are involved, what happens if this is all going down on electronic texting, Miss Cathy? What happens with that?
Absolutely. Well, then the best situation is to step away. And that's hard. That is so hard, because step away, take a breath, put the phone down, and go talk to a different friend. Go talk to an adult that you trust, whether that's a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a teacher, a counselor, a pastor, whoever it is. Who do you trust? Because when you stay engaged, especially if it's online, it's more likely to go to a bad place. And the more hurtful things are going to be said, sadly. So and it's hard. It is so hard, because it's human nature for us, to respond if somebody said something hurtful, and then next to defend ourselves. That's what we want to do. That's human nature. And then engage. And then that anger can just keep building. And then you may say something that you regret. So always, if someone's getting that hurtful online, the best gift you can give yourself is to step away and do it for yourself. Even though we think that the best thing is to defend, but if someone's engaging to that level, it's too hard to defend yourself online, and it's not worth it. So seek help, share it with a friend, share it with another adult.
Yes, agreed. And when Trudy figures out these things and goes through this process, it's a lot better. I mean, I have to say, she doesn't look angry on the cover. So she must have figured it out.
She does. She does, but not completely. So she admits, because this is real life. These books are real life. By the end of the book, her anger is not all gone. It is not. She's much better. She's let go of a lot of her anger, and she hasn't fully stepped into forgiveness. It's a process, but she starts taking steps, and then you see where she goes in book 6. So Trudy Lets Go of Her Anger is book 5. And in book 6, she takes another step forward with her forgiveness, and you see why. And that's because of hope. And we won't dive into hope because that's book 6. But yes, she lets go of her anger, but it's not completely gone, because it's not easy. And here's what I tell people. Anger is a natural feeling for all of us. All of us are going to get mad. Everybody. That's natural. That's normal. When it becomes a problem is when we ruminate on the anger. We ruminate on what made us mad, or we don't know how to articulate our feelings, and we keep it bottled up, and it happens again and again, and we bottle it up, we bottle it up, we bottle it up. And then what happens? Just like one of the experiments at the back of the book that I share, that's a really cool one to teach the kids, in the exploding anger experiment, we explode. And that's when bigger things happen. And we don't want to get to the point where we explode. And it's easier. I love what you said earlier about taking the breath. It's easier to take that breath when something happens and think for just a half a second before we respond, if we've been working on letting go of a little bit of anger rather than ruminating on it and letting it build up.
Right. That thinking of it, and it's just this spinning building. It's my favorite sign. I mean, it just shows you that this top can only handle so much, and then it's going to go. And no one really wants that. When you're not even part of the situation, you're coming into a store and you've seen strangers just kaplow.
Yes.
You weren't even a part of the conversation.
Yes.
Your feeling in that moment is like, "Ooh." It's really interesting how it just can become so intense. And humility and dropping down our pride and thinking, you know what? Maybe people are doing the best they can with what they have. And myself now taking that breath and just going through and putting on that smile. And not because I'm like, no, it's because I'm like, maybe you just need to know it's okay. We've all been there. You're still loved. It's okay.
Yeah.
And really, adults going and speaking to an adult, usually because they have the wisdom and the experience, and they can share parts of things, and they usually have enough stories. And that's a part where, parenting and teaching really coexist in a great relationship. And wanting to do those things are very positive and powerful. And it is great to see that Trudy, she has taken the steps, and it's not all wrapped up in a bow at the end, but it is improving. And that's really all we can do, because in our lifetime, improvement, and just even though it might slip down a little bit, if we're going in the correct direction, then we're doing good. So, Miss Cathy, we've talked about book 1 clear back in May, and now we're talking about book 5. I'm going to have you back because there's a few more books in here, right?
Can I share real quick?
Absolutely.
Why it's Trudy the Tiger?
Yes, please.
I have to share, when I was coming up with the names of all my characters, originally the tiger had a different name. And then it hit me that I had to name the tiger Trudy, and I'm going to share why. So Trudy the Tiger is named after my hero, who was my mom. And I'll share why. So some people know the story, some don't. But as I mentioned earlier, survivor of childhood trauma. I unfortunately am a long-term survivor of child sexual abuse for 6 years, and I never told anyone. I didn't share my story. But the night my mom found out, she found out another way. My mom became my hero because she took the step that every single adult should take when they find out if anything like that is ever happening to a child. And she kicked my stepfather out of the house. And again, that allowed my healing to start. My healing took years, yet that is an incredible, important piece for any survivor, especially a child. And my mom was an amazing person. She was an artist, and she loved to do chalk drawings. And so my mom went by the name Bonnie, but her birth given name was Gertrude. She hated Gertrude. She did not like it at all. But when she did a chalk drawing that she loved or thought was good enough, she loved the artist name Trudy. So my mom's artist name was Trudy. So and my mom's favorite animal is a tiger. And my mom's favorite chalk drawing that she ever did was a tiger, and she signed it Trudy. And here's why forgiveness had to be a tiger, and it had to be named after my mom. So after my mom ended my abuse, my mom never forgave herself, ever. My mom carried that her whole life. My mom never forgave my stepfather. I actually, believe it or not, I forgave my stepfather before my mom did. And even though my mom was an amazing person, and she will forever be my hero, because my mom carried that anger her whole life, it affected her relationships and it affected her health. And my mom has since passed, but I know she's looking down on this, appreciating this story even more because my mom deserved to let go of the anger she had towards herself. Towards my stepfather, that's a whole nother conversation at a different time, but more importantly, herself. So the tiger had to be Trudy as a tribute to my mom and how important it is to let go of that anger.
Well, we're going to wrap it right there. Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Cathy. And we're going to have you back because there's more things to discuss. Thank you, all of you who are joining us tonight live. We really appreciate all that you've come to with the audience. Great information and questions and comments. We appreciate it. Thank you for sharing this hope and light. And we hope that your evening carries forth with this light to your next day. We will see you all next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.